afternoon, everybody. This is John Marola. I'm Keeping It Real Section 5 Football. And this episode right here, this came up really in last minute type of thing. To my left is my neighbor, Dan DeVos. Dan and I kind of grew up together, and we've known each other forever and ever. And Dan now, I'd like to start off by saying, is just ending his 30th year at the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, which is it's amazing. And what this episode is about, it's about trying to get people different ideals to do after your playing days. Football. We were talking earlier, Dan. That window of playing sports, it's always closing. And what are we going to do after that? What are you going to do after that? Well, in your case, you've landed at a great spot, Division One athletics, and you've been there for 30 years. Like I said earlier, you must have been doing something right for you to be there for 30 years. It's a hell of an accomplishment. Now, before we really get started, I just got to go back a little bit, and we were reviewing our views and our subscribes. Our views are great. People are watching it. We love it. It's really helping. Please subscribe. All right, the subscribes got to start growing. So just subscribe. The other thing with that is, yesterday I was talking to Dan's mother, Mary Ellen, and we were talking about getting her subscribed on, and she was like, "How much does it cost?" I said, "Listen, this doesn't cost anything. So there's not a lot of things in this world that you get for free, but this happens to be one of them. So please, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe." And that's what I have for that. So what we're going to get right into it, Dan, is thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. And what we want to talk about is, how you started. How did you get started? I know that you were over at Olympia. What came about as far as you playing sports?
Yeah, John, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here, to spend some time with you. I've been able to watch from North Carolina a few of your podcasts, and you guys are doing a great job. And I think you're really doing a super job in promoting Section 5 football and sports. So very happy to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And growing up on Cabot Road,
Mm-hmm.
in Rochester and Greece, sports were always a big part of my life. I kind of started in the neighborhood. Probably I might have got knocked around a little bit by the older kids, but I eventually made it to high school at Greece Olympia,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to play football and baseball. And there were some wonderful role models that really kind of instilled and poured, a lot of tough love into us back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Giordano, Coach Comer, yourself, Ben Giuseppe was the athletic director. And it wasn't honestly all about wins and losses, even though obviously we were trying to win every game.
Mm-hmm.
As I told you earlier, we had probably 22 guys on our varsity team when I was a senior. I used to say we were low on numbers and big on heart. We went 3-6.
Yeah.
We did post a couple shutouts, but it was just a lot of fun. The camaraderie. Some of my teammates are some great friends today, and Jay Benham and other guys, and it was just a lot of fun. But it really told me that I want to attempt to play collegiate sports
Mm-hmm.
once high school ends, because it's high school sports end for a lot of people, and that's okay. But I wanted to try to continue on, and was able to do that.
Okay. Then you went on from Olympia. You went on to college. Tell me your college, how that experience was playing baseball.
Yeah, thank you. So I went to the University of Charleston in West Virginia. It was 8 hours south. I thought I was really south, and in the last 30 years of living in Charlotte, North Carolina, I am really south now. But I was sick of throwing snowballs in the parking lot when we were training in February and March while up here in high school. So was lucky enough to play down there 4 years, and There's still a few balls that are going through the solar system that I gave up, threw in there maybe at 85 and went out at 100.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience to play collegiate sports, and I was able to get a business degree. My senior year, I was able to work for a minor league baseball team, and so that really got me interested in kind of what you mentioned at the beginning of this show of that kind of sports window closing. At that point, I knew as a senior, throwing 85 miles an hour with a rock in my pocket and a wind at my back, that scouts were not looking at me, and rightfully so. So I worked for a minor league team, and then I applied for grad school at West Virginia University and got a master's in sports administration. And that was a great time to learn more about opportunities in sports, but not playing them. So I was able to marry up a business degree with a sports management degree, and then kind of figure out, what area do I want to get into, whether it's maybe tickets or marketing or fundraising or event management or coaching. Do you want to try to do that at the professional level or the college level? So there was a lot of questions that I had to answer, and after a year of schooling at West Virginia, I chose the college athletics route and went down to Charlotte, North Carolina, did an internship with a company called Raycom Sports, and I was really kind of a catch-all type guy. Did it for about 9 months, had a great experience, but they didn't have anything available after the internship. So then I came back home, worked for the Rochester Red Wings for a summer, had a lot of fun. It was sales, and a lot of people don't really want to participate in sales type jobs, but I've always kind of just, I guess, have had the quote gift to gab and not afraid to ask. And so then from there, another opportunity at UNC Charlotte opened up in the athletic ticket office. And I was like, you know what? Charlotte's a great growing city 30 years ago. And I rolled the dice and went down there for not a lot of money and was able to do a nice job there in the athletic program, and eventually was able to get on full time.
That's awesome. And now here we are 30 years later.
30 years later, that's a great call, John. This is next month. I'll finish my 30th year at UNC Charlotte, and it's obviously been a phenomenal ride. I've been sort of externally minded, from selling tickets to sponsorships to marketing. And then most recently, the last 17 years, I've been responsible for raising money for student athlete scholarships, as well as helping us with some of our capital projects when we want to expand our football stadium or baseball stadium and projects like that. So it's been super, super rewarding, and just trying to make an impact every day for our coaches and our student athletes.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. And being lucky enough to, being at one place for so long, that's where you met your wife. Now you have two boys, and they're in their 20s now.
Yes, they
So
sure are.
that's I hear so much these days about people that get into that type of work, and they are all over the United States. I mean, they're here for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then they're bouncing and bouncing. But you guys, you've been at one place for so long, and you can build that stable with you and your wife and your two boys. That's got to also be an awesome experience.
Yeah, really, really a little bit lucky. Sometimes you'd rather be lucky than good. And Charlotte was a growing city 30 years ago. And today it probably has 2.5, 3 million people. We're super, super centrally located to, the Atlantic Ocean. Beaches are 3.5 hours away. The mountains of North Carolina are 2 hours away. We're 4 hours from Atlanta. There's probably 15 Division I colleges within a 4-hour radius of where we live.
Yeah.
And really just kind of got an opportunity to get into the athletic department at a lower level. And my wife Amy was our head softball coach for 25 years and did a phenomenal job. And then I was kind of able to work my way up the ladder and try to figure out, where my strengths were, and it's just been a very, very rewarding um, profession. Not a lot of people like to ask for money, and I'm glad that I do like to ask people for money and try to make an impact. And this
Yeah.
is doing it, as we mentioned earlier, off the field. I don't know that I ever thought I would be an athletic fundraiser. I knew I would be in the athletic setting, whether it was collegiate or professional.
Mhm.
But I'm so happy to do what I do every day.
That's awesome. It really is. And again, this episode is to let people know, even though, like myself, I played football in high school. Lucky enough, my father was, around me at the time. That window's closing. That athletic, playing days, the window's always closing. It's never really opening. So, what are you thinking about, or what's going to go after you're done playing high school or college? You know, it, there's only 1% that get into the professional. And I got that from Thad Brown, who was on some shows ago. There's only the 1% that goes on to the professional sports. So what is the other 99% going to do? And you still love being around sports and involved in sports. Um, this is another avenue. So we're just trying to let people realize different opportunities.
Yeah, I would say, John, all day that anyone who's listening or watching this podcast, if you're a high school student or even a college student, Rochester, New York has some really good professional teams, as well as local colleges. And I think it's just a matter of being proactive and calling up the franchise or the college athletic department and saying, hey, I would like to see if I can get some experience as a volunteer or as an intern. And there's so many different categories within those companies or colleges that one could maybe find a niche. Tickets. When I got first down there, I didn't know a lot about ticketing. I was able to learn it, but between tickets and marketing and this day and age, social media is humongous, and event management and fundraising, and then you have the coaching side, scouting side. There's a lot of great opportunities, but I think being proactive, and a lot of colleges this day and age offer undergraduate sports management classes. When I went to West Virginia, there was not a lot of undergrad opportunities, but there was probably a handful of graduate level master's sport management classes or programs.
Yeah.
And so I was lucky to be able to get accepted at West Virginia, and then attend there and then go from there.
Now, being at Charlotte, like we've said, it's a Division I school. They've had Division I basketball for years. Just starting up within the last 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, 12 years.
12 years really for football. Now that they're Division I in football. Talk to me a little bit about that experience starting up a Division I football program, and also I remember as we're talking, things start going through. Your experiences, people you met, being involved. I remember the one time you called me from down there, and you were like, "Hey, I just had Dickie V in my car,"
Right.
and I was like, "Really?" And yeah, just interviewing them, or just you had to give them someplace to go or something.
Yes.
So, anyways, yeah, talk to us a little bit about that experience, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. Being down in Charlotte for 30 years, for many years when I first got down there in the 90s, we had we were well known for our men's basketball success, our soccer success, our baseball success, and we've got a phenomenal athletic program. We're Division I, as you mentioned. We're now in the American Athletic Conference, so that's schools like Tulane, Memphis, East Carolina, South Florida, Florida Atlantic. So a lot of schools, a lot of institutions like us that are competing at a high level. And our university decided to start football. This, like I said, the 12th season will be this fall. It was probably about 16 years ago. We had about 22 2,000 students. We were probably the largest school in the nation without a football program.
Really?
And we're kind of a younger institution, even though we're 77 or 78 years old now,
Mm-hmm.
compared to NC State or Chapel Hill. Both those programs are over 200 years old. So we're in a phenomenal city that's growing by leaps and bounds, but we just didn't have the infrastructure to start football. And so, being at a school like that, having had played a little form of football at Greece Olympia back in the 80s, I was chomping at the bit for us to start a football program, but knew that it was going to take a lot of resources and a lot of community support, alumni support, campus support. And so the day we announced we were going to start it, it was 2007 or 2008, it was like, wow, this is going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And arguably, since we started playing, we are a competitive team. We've got 4 individuals that are in the NFL right now. 2 of them are starters with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just been really cool to be able to bring back, 15,000 people to our campus stadium, tailgating.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing like it, And so, and high school football down in Charlotte is really good. Football in the state of North Carolina is really good. And so there's a lot of high quality individuals who are playing football on our team.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's been incredible, really.
And just the experience now of, like I said, you meet different people, and it's got to be an awesome thing.
A lot of it's luck. You were right on with Dick Vitale.
Yeah.
That was, I want to say that was now probably 25 years ago.
Really?
Dick Vitale and I don't know who his partner were they were the commentators for an ABC game in the late 90s, and we Charlotte were playing Cincinnati with with Bob Huggins as the head coach, and so I drew the right straw to pick up Dick Vitale at the airport.
Mm-hmm.
I took him to his hotel in the South Park area, and he couldn't have been nicer. He was unbelievable, and he had just done a huge game the night before, so he barely had any voice left. And so I told him who I was, and he's like, I'll never forget this. He's like, "Hey, Danny," he goes, "Baby, you're going to be chancellor of this university someday." I'm thinking, "Okay, coach, sure I am." But it was just awesome, right?
Yeah.
And a couple weeks ago, I was fortunate enough to be at a Touchdown Club luncheon in Charlotte,
Mm-hmm.
and walking by was the keynote speaker, and that was Roy Williams.
Oh, really?
And so the person I was standing next to, Roy knew. He shook his hand, and so I took out my hand. He shook my hand.
Yeah.
And it's just, you never know who you're going to meet.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's been great always sort of being behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my friends up here, down there, are like, "Wow, it's great. You're at all these games," and we are, but we're also attempting to work at these games and cultivate our donors and
Yes.
and meet new people. So, but there's nothing like a game day, really in any sport. But collegiate athletics is definitely a lot of fun for me, and it definitely gets me energized every time we are playing a home game.
Yeah. Now, I know that the football team recently will play some of the upper echelon type. I remember Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Duke was a couple years ago.
Yes.
What Georgia? Was Georgia on there once too?
Georgia's coming, I think, possibly a year from now.
Oh, really?
Like, for example, this coming season, our home openers against James Madison from the Sun Belt Conference.
Yep.
And then we go to UNC Chapel Hill,
Okay.
week 2, which will be a humongous game in our state.
Yep.
And then week 3 is against Gardner Webb, who's a local FCS team
Yeah.
down in Bowling Springs. Week 4 we go to Indiana.
Okay.
But I think a year from now we go to Georgia. We have UNC Chapel Hill coming to us next fall.
Nice.
Ole Miss, NC State.
Really?
I mean, so
Yeah.
we're trying to build a program,
Uh-huh.
and those schools obviously pay us a guarantee to come down there.
Yep.
And 15, 20 years ago, Appalachian State beat Michigan.
Mm.
And most people never thought that would happen.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it did happen.
yeah.
And someday it's going to happen for our football program, and we're going to knock off someone that's got a big name,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be phenomenal.
Yes, it will. It will. Um, Getting into things like that, we were talking earlier about other people from Rochester that were athletes, went on to college, and then I've said that window is closed. It's closing. It's always closing, and I started going through, it, and I know everybody out there. I'm going to miss a couple names, but I apologize for that. But I just kind of, like I said, this all came about like not even 24 hours ago. We were just kind of talking on the phone, and you're flying back out to Charlotte tonight. So I was like, if the opportunity's here, we got to get to it now. So that's why we're kind of doing this kind of quickly. As you notice too, the table isn't set up how it used to be. I just threw the banner up real quick again because after this episode, um, tune in after this episode at 5 p.m. will be the Robbie and Dick Cerrone interview on after this one. So we're going to post this one on before that. It'll be on next Wednesday. So I just want to let people know that. So, anyways, back to what we were talking about with other area people. I was looking through, Google last night, and the first one that came to my mind was, and I still did do a little bit, still talk to a little bit, is Clint Hurt. Clint went to Gates Chili, went to University of Miami, played. He was a grad assistant there, ended up being a D-line coach there. From there, he went on to the Chicago Bears. From the Bears, he went to Seattle, was the D coordinator at Seattle for some years, and now this year is going to be his first year as the D-line coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. So, there's a Rochester guy that he's always been involved in football and that type of stuff. The other one is Ryan Poles. Ryan Poles is a Caledonia Mulford ex-player. He played ball at Boston College, and then he played, I believe, one season for the Bears. He has now been there for got to be over 10 years. He's now the general manager for the Chicago Bears. Rochester guy, that still got it in his blood. You know what I'm saying? So another one that I just brought to Dan, who I've known for a long time. Actually, when he's refereeing, when I see him on TV refereeing, I lock in on him and just watch him and how he does. And I text him sometimes afterwards about, did you miss a play here? And I never miss plays or whatever. Is Jimmy Echo. Jimmy Echo's a Greece Olympic grad, and he is now one of the top officials in um, college football. He's in the ACC. He's done a ton of Notre Dame games. 2 years ago, I believe now, he did the Georgia TCU game, national championship game. He did that. And, I'm always, when I'm watching a game, I'm always kind of have an eye looking for him out there. So another Rochester person that, like I said, he was a pretty good quarterback at Olympia, I remember back, in the early 80s. But that window, like we said, that window's always closing. Uh, and there's other ones in here too that, I mean, we can just go on and on. But we're just trying to, again, let people know that, it can still happen. With me personally, I knew my playing days were just about, they were done in high school. And like I said, I was lucky enough to have my dad near me. And, he said to me, "Do you ever think about coaching?" And I said, "No, not really." And now I've said, now, that was 40 years ago.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I did it for 37 years, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm sure you were just so happy about, being involved in sports like that, watching a program grow like you have over at Charlotte, being at one school. Yeah, it's just really, you don't hear about stuff like that anymore. It's just remarkable. Um, so
Yeah, just to add on
yeah,
that,
go ahead.
you know, a lot of my really good friends are educators and coaches. You know, Jason Benham, Dave Neiman, Jeff Stengline, and there's several others. And those guys were able to parlay being really good high school athletes, collegiate athletes, and then go and work in high schools for 20, 30 years, which is incredible. The impact that these individuals and all coaches and administrators have every day on paying it forward, on molding the future of this country. Um, those are thankless jobs at times, and you might lose more than you win.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always had an incredible respect for the coaches and administrators. I think if I never left Rochester back in the day, I probably would have loved to have been a teacher slash coach,
Mm-hmm.
and just try to make a difference.
Yeah.
Because God knows we need as many role models in this country as we can these days.
Yes. Yes. That's very true. And on to that, what I want to do now is just go over, in a little time. I just want to go through our sponsors a little bit. And actually, I'm going to let everybody know, which everyone kind of knows by now. Howie over at Sticky Lips, they are closing up shop. I talked to him a couple weeks ago, and he was so apologetic and everything. I understand, it's a business, and it's really, really hard to get a business running and keep it running. He did it for 36 years in Rochester, which I said is, that's above and beyond to begin with. Just trying to keep a business going these days is so hard. So, what we are going to do is, I was saying that we were going to have, when we're up at Premier Sports, we are going to do the games that were played, talk a little bit about those, the upcoming games of the week, some of the games, and we are going to talk Monroe County, Livingston County, Finger Lakes. We're just not going to centralize everything and just talk about, the county. Um, I want to talk about everything. It's all Section 5, it's all one. And I think that's very important. So we're going to do that. And at the end of the show, talking to Joe Muno up at Premier Sports, where we're going to broadcast. Our first broadcast, we've sat down, and Joe and I, what we are going to do is we're going to have our first broadcast on September 3rd. That'll be a Tuesday at Premier Sport, and that'll be a week before, actually 4 or 5 days before the actual games that are being played. And what we're going to do is just talk about what we're there, what we're doing, and the upcoming games. We're also going to have Joe on as a guest. He's a former coach in Rochester. Coached for years at Marshall, for some years over at Aquinas. Talk to him a little bit about that and basically what we're doing over at Premier. He has been nice enough to, he's going to have, it's either going to be a hoodie or a zip down jacket made up for the player of the week. So when the young man comes in and we recognize him, Joe's going to have a jacket or a pole for him. And I think that's a really great touch and something that Joe, he said to me a couple months ago, when we were talking about this, he said that, "Oh, I used to do this back," and I said, "You know what? I do kind of remember that." And he goes, "Oh, you want to do it again?" And here we are going to do it again. So that's awesome. And I want to just, give Joe a big, thank you for that. And our other sponsors that we have is, we were talking earlier about my embroidery, our shirts. It's up on Westridge Road. His name is Kendall Miller. It's custom print. And I was trying to tell Dan, if you over by Hooligans, if you're over by that little plaza next to it, I believe it was the Street of Shops. He's right in there. and he's right next to Country Sweet. So he's right in there. Just go in there if you need anything done. He is so busy. Got people coming in and out all day. It's hard for me sometimes even to talk to him. But I guess that's a good problem. Is they have a lot of work. So he's doing that. The other one that we have is a guy that we both know pretty well, um, called. He, oh, I got it. Just totally forgot. I'm gonna cut this part out. Okay, right now. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Making a splash. That's my brother Dan. He does pool liners in the summertime, right around this time of year. And if anybody needs a liner, either fixed or a new one put in, contact him. His name is at the end with the credits. He told me if anybody says that they've seen the show, mentions the show to him, he'll give him $100 discount on a liner. So that's a nice little thing to do. So I want to say thank you for that. And after that, I'm just kind of good. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great. I want to just say, hey, thanks for being here. And like I said, this we just talked about this not even 24 hours ago, and just to let people know again, there's opportunities out there. Even though your playing days, quote unquote, will be over, doesn't mean you have to leave sports. If that's something that is in our blood, and being Rochester people, that it's happening all over, being a part of that. I've said it a couple, 30 years. It's just awesome. I don't even hear about people in normal, everyday jobs that do something. They're one job for 30 years. There's only maybe 2 or 3 people that I know that have that amount of time at one place these days.
It's pretty amazing. Right place, right time. Love what you do.
You must have awesome people up there around you.
We sure do. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we do, and it's a great, it's a great environment, and there's nothing like college athletics, and it's just really blessed to be able to work in that profession as long as I have, and continue and will continue to.
Mhm.
So
That's awesome. One other thing I got to mention is our next episode. Like I said, this one will be on little outside noise. This episode will be on next Wednesday, which I believe is July 17th. Yes, sir. July 17th, around 3:30. I'll have this one out, and after this one will be the Robbie and Dick Jerome episode, which we, kind of grew up around too. With Dick being the chairman of Section 5 in New York State. So that's a great episode. If people want to watch that, please do. And keep on watching. Again, my email for at the end of this, I don't think Danny's seen it yet, but we have a picture collage, and I'm always switching pictures in and out. I probably put in probably 8 or 9 more pictures at the end. And like I said, I'm just trying to, if people want to, get recognized about what you did in Section 5. It doesn't have to be just football either. I basketball, baseball, cheerleading, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's something that we're all, a part of, and just trying to make it grow and trying to make it, just a little bit better. So just keep on sending it. It's J Marola, JMerola 4747 at gmail.com. I almost forgot that. And the number if you want to call, you can call in. Like I said, our next episode will be August 5th, then the 6th, and then the 7th. We're going to be up at Greece Olympia High School and Westside Camp, which George Giordano, he's my first sponsor. We're going to be up there with G and the 12 high school teams from Rochester, and we're going to interview 4 teams a night, 4 coaches, different coaches a night, and a couple of their players. So, just give it more recognition. It's right around the corner of football season. It's not that far away. We have Actually, after this episode, I'll be working over at St. John Fisher at Buffalo Bills camp for about a week or so. I'll be over there with them, and football's coming. It's right around the corner. So, again, I'd like to say thank you for everything.
Thank you so much.
You
This
good?
this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm definitely good, and keep up the great work, man.
Thank you.
This
Appreciate
is
it.
there's a lot of work that goes into this. It's a labor of love for you right now, but you and Coach G and Coach Bergandy. I mean, this is trying to elevate Section 5 football, and I definitely applaud you, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you just said a word, and there's one other person we just mentioned. You said it's a labor of love, and it is. It's got its little low parts where making mistakes. I'm always kind of looking over here, making sure everything's running, and you said a labor of love, and the other person that said that to me was G. G's mentioned that. Which it is. It's something that I love to do. I've always been around football with my father. It's like we've said it's in your blood. It's not going to go anywhere. And you being around athletics and sports, it's in your blood.
100%.
And just want to say again, hey, thank you for everything. Appreciate it.
Thank
Good?
you. Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
You ready to
Yep.
go to one?
Let's do
Here
it.
we go. 1, 2, 3. Keeping it real, Section 5 football. Good night. Have
Good
a
night.
great night. And that's it.
Wow.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. And damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great. I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall. I'm falling fast, sitting here praying that this night's gonna last. You got it all on tap, I'm loving your vibe, always have your back. We like all the same tracks, listen all night in the sheets all black. Said I'm falling fast, don't remember life before you, that's fact. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date. You're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight. Don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase. So catch me if I fall.